Friday night over the Hampton Crabbers. Mighty impressive one, and you got to feel great about how the squad's performing right now.
Yeah, it was a solid win last night. I felt like we did well in all three phases: special teams, offense, and defense.
Tell me about this group here. I think we knew about the defense last year, which had that shutout streak of you lost to Phoebus at the end, 10-2, but you didn't give up a touchdown until that game. You get to the region championship. You have a season for the ages at Warwick, and you knew a lot of guys are coming back. The unfortunate, tough injury to Masai Dilemma we send our best to, who's going to Maryland, one of the best players in the entire state. And some might have said, all right, we're going to take a step back. But you guys didn't listen to it. You've bought in all the guys, the youngsters that have returned for the squad. And here you are. In some ways, you're putting up better numbers than a season ago. Give me the process of when you have a good year like you did, you're still hungry and you know what you're capable of. But there's also that motivation of, all right, we know there's a little more work to get to that top level. How you guys approach this year, and especially after the tough setback with Messiah.
Well, we really are we're a veteran team. We have a lot of guys who they were freshmen and sophomores playing varsity 2 years ago when we went to the state semifinals. They were starters last year as sophomores and juniors, and now they're juniors and seniors. So we have a lot of veterans who have recorded a lot of quality varsity minutes. Um, Hats off to my coaches. I have a great coaching staff who we all work together and prepare our players week in and week out. Going back to this summer, we did some camps this summer, some team camps this summer, and then our scrimmages against some very, very quality opponents in Hayfield and DeMatha. The preparation that we've put in really have prepared us for the season. For us at Warwick, is job not done. We celebrated last night, but right now we're focusing on our next opponent. Um, but we are quite pleased with what we have. We still got a lot of work to do. We're not quite there yet, but we're working toward it.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm going to let my cohort, Coach Young, jump in here with some questions for you, Coach. But the last one here for me before I let him turn it with you, and he'll talk about that Phoebus game, I'm sure, coming up in 7 days, is your quarterback, Saeed Williams Jr. He played some on defense last year, was your second quarterback, and he's been quietly rolling along. I mentioned earlier in the show about the receivers you guys have with Dakota Brodus, the big lanky kid. You got Keon Batts, who had 3 touchdowns last week, Julio Character, and our speedster. Just speak on his growth and development in your offense, because the defense gets the headlines, but this offense is really performing at a high level, and you got to be proud of what he's doing out there.
He's doing a very decent job for us. The key for athletes in any sport is you have to be coachable, and he's really listening and being coachable to the things that our offensive coordinator Terry Shepard is wanting him to do. His quarterback coach Christian Anderson is teaching him in practice, so he's really being coachable and doing the task that we've asked him to do.
Ed, can you hear us? Go ahead.
Oh, okay, now I can hear. I couldn't hear you first. Hey, Corey, good morning to you. Congrats on another big win last night. Now,
good morning. Thank you.
Hey, now let me ask you this, though. I think Matt was telling me when you get shutouts, somebody has to buy somebody donuts. Is that true?
Typically, when we record shutouts, I make that trip to Krispy Kreme. I wish you hadn't said that, because I hadn't done that in a while. But
well, hey, come on now, Corey. Now, come on. You can't start something. You know darn well with these kids, longtime basketball coach that I am. You could give all the plays you want. You can practice all you want. But if I tell these kids we're stopping at McDonald's after a game and we roll right past McDonald's, the first thing I hear is, Coach, you said a couple of weeks ago after this game we were going to stop McDonald's. Yeah, you can remember what I said 3 weeks ago. You can't remember what I said 3 minutes ago in the huddle. That's kids. So get them donuts out there to those youngsters because they are,
Yes,
you
sir.
know, and Matt kind of hit on a couple of things, Coach. You come into the year, you lose a great player with an injury into home. You lose some really good senior graduates, which we lose every year. And some people might think, okay, Warwick takes a step down. I kind of thought losing to home was going to really hurt you. Not so much you're going to lose games, but be a little from their team. Well, you've proven everybody wrong. And you are crushing people, and you're still shutting people out. And as Matt made a comment, you're scoring, and then you hit it right on the head. Well, we had some youngsters who are coming along, and they're also doing what's expected of them. So naturally, that you should be winning. And I always say this to people about teams that really win. Are they a good team, or is it a good program? Because if you're a good program, you're going to have really good years. Now, you right away with high school kids, you might have a down year or two. You're there, but usually going to be really good. If you just have a good team, you'll have a 9-1 year, and then all of a sudden you're 500 the next 3 years because you don't have a good program. You have built, obviously, I would think a great program so far at Warwick, and I'm amazed as to how much you guys shut people out. You hit a lot of the questions I was going to ask you, but one thing I do need to hear from you is, who is that next group of young kids that are freshmen, sophomores, maybe a junior, who coming into this season, you weren't sure what they were going to give you, but now they've really played up to the role? Is there a couple of those kids that you can give a shout out about?
Definitely. Now, let me go back to the donuts. So we have put some other things in place to recognize the hard work and the accomplishments of our players week in and week out, not just the shutout. So trust me, Coach, we're taking care of that part.
I just want to make sure the children are getting those donuts or whatever that you're promising out there, because sometimes we coaches go crazy with our motivations and we say we're going to do this and that, and then it kind of slips our mind. Those kids ain't going to forget. When it comes to free food, those kids don't forget.
Yeah, and trust me, because we put things in place for them to make sure that they're recognized for their hard work. So I'm glad you brought that up. But the second thing, we do have some guys who coming into the seasons, we weren't sure how they would respond to playing at the varsity level. I have a sophomore. Actually, I have a few guys. Cartier Carey. He's doing an excellent job as a defensive back. He has really stepped up. He played JV last year, and he played, a few varsity games, but this year he's full-time varsity, and he's doing an excellent job. We have a junior. His name is Tracy Pope. We were quite unsure about where he would fit. He played varsity and JV last year, but this year he's been playing lights out at defensive end, getting sacks and things of that nature. So he's doing an excellent job. We have a few guys who are sophomores who, they're playing excellent job. Terrius Brown, Omari Meredith, Raekwon Edlow. Those guys are, they're putting in a lot of work for us and doing a great job. So I'm quite pleased with those guys who, they may not be the quote unquote big name guys, but they are doing a great job. Another kid, we call him Juice Thornton. He's doing a great job as well. So we're quite pleased with some of those guys who coming into the season we were unsure about, but they've really proven themselves. Oh, Jason Disnu, he's another one. So we're quite pleased with those guys who have stepped up.
few more minutes here with Warwick head football coach Corey Hairston, our guest on 757 Saturday Sports Talk. It's CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're all over the web, virginiapreps.com, Apple, Spotify, Facebook, IG, and so much more. Coach Hairston's Raiders at 9-0 on the season, getting ready to take on the Phoebus Phantoms next Saturday at Darling Stadium, Ed.
Yeah, now, Coach, you're going into the Phoebus game. Everybody knows what Phoebus is. Everybody should know what Warwick is. Of course, you football coaches don't want to tip your helmets as to some things you want to do or whatever. But what, as you kind of look in the distance, and I know you're probably just getting ready to formulate what you want to do with Phoebus, what couple of things does Phoebus present challenge-wise for you guys that you've really got to attack?
Well, there's a few things. Number one, the program itself. And coach, you've been coaching a long time. Sometimes when players and sometimes even coaches, when they hear a certain name of a team that, they'll be like, oh, wow, we play whoever this week. So number one is just overcoming the name. Number two, Phoebus does a great job of running the ball well, and they have for years, and they always have a solid defense. So those are three aspects that that we are going to be prepared for, and we'll make sure that our kids are prepared for this week.
Well, I would, and listening to that, obviously, you've got to control their running game, obviously, and that when you mentioned Phoebus too, the first thing that does come to my mind is a physical defense, that you're not going to get easy things off of them, and they're not going to make a lot of mistakes that you can just depend on getting some free penalty yards. They're going to make you earn everything. So I would imagine in a game like this, obviously, you got to cut down mistakes. And the two things I always look at in big games: line play, special teams. Okay, assess your line, not so much what going in against Phoebus, but your line play, both sides of the ball this year, and then if you would, your emphasis on special teams after that.
And I'm glad you mentioned those two because, in my opinion, on both sides of the ball for us, our offensive line and our defensive line have done a very, very stand-up job. Like I said, on both sides of the ball, I'm very, very pleased with those guys. They're kind of the unsung heroes because their names never get mentioned in the paper. They're never highlighted on highlights. But those guys, do a great job. Christian Corbin, DeJuan Skipwith, Juwan Rodriguez, Xavion Studwell, Big E Coel. Those guys do a great job. TJ Short, they do an excellent job on both sides of the ball. We have a couple of those guys who go both ways, and they really do control the trenches. In order for the Saids and the Julios and the Keons to do the things that they do, you can't do any of them without the guys up front. And we've done it. Those guys have done a great job doing great things for us. Special teams, our special teams have really improved this season. I feel like we're light years way better than last season. So our special teams have really, really done well. I believe last night may have been the only time that our special teams did not score in any of our games. I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe we've scored on special teams in every game except for last night.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm glad you brought up Christian Corbin. I'll let you jump in here a second, Ed, because and you have a lot of good linemen, but I think 53 is his number, correct?
Yes, sir.
The number of coaches that have either played you or watched you guys on film, and we interviewed him after your win over Bethel back in game 2, him and your linebacker, Isaiah Emery. And you got a great linebacking core, and your secondary's not too shabby either. But the number of coaches that have told me just how impressive he is, I mean, to me, he stacks up with as good a defensive lineman as there is coach in the area in the state.
Yeah, Christian Corbin, he's a great kid. He's one of the kids that I mentioned earlier about starting varsity since their freshman year. He's done a tremendous job. You know, the big thing about Chris is he's not only a solid football player, but he's also a very solid wrestler, and he's also a very solid track and field athlete. And he does a shot and disc. So he's a multi-sport athlete. He's coachable. He's strong. He has a very good. He has good balance. Good low center of gravity. He's the real deal, and he's mean. So
there you go, Ed. A mean guy who wrestles. That's right up your alley, Ed.
Yeah, and what I like hearing there was that kid's playing sports year round. That's tremendous. Still getting his grades. That's Division I status. That's the kind of things you want to hear. I'm gonna lead coach with a couple of things. Number one, Corey, and I got to do this because I've done it with some other veteran coaches, mostly young coaches.
Make
ready. Sure in your repertoire of offensive plays, you have the flea flicker, you have the end around, and you have 4th and inches, and you're ready to throw the ball. I don't want to hear this crap up the middle, power eye and whatever. Put those in your playbook, and don't be afraid to use them. I learned one great Bill Stikowski there, First Colonial years ago, Matt?
No, Cox,
a veteran coach who will forget more football than I'll ever know. And he finally put the play in, and he ran it, and it was successful. So he finally gave me a little bit of credit. So put that in your repertoire. You're going to need it in the playoffs. And I'm going to add another problem for you. You're talking about this great line. Add the pancake in this. Start giving the best offensive lineman who gets the best pancake of the week on your trips to get the food. Stop at one of the local pancake places. I'm not going to mention names because, as Matt says, they don't sponsor us, so we're not mentioning their name. Pick up an order pancake. They're cheap. The linemen will go crazy because them big boys in there with them bellies, they all like pancakes.
Oh, no. I got a better one, Ed, as we let Coach go, and we thank you so much for coming on the show. Here's what I want, Coach Hairston. Ed has got a lot of free time on his hands because he's not coaching basketball this year, and the playoffs are coming up. And one of my favorite things at your football games is, and I don't know when you started this, your staff or who started it, but when you guys get a first down, and it's your whole group, and you lead the brigade with move the chains with a little first down.
Move the chains. That's
I want to get Ed, if you can hook him up with it, come one of your playoff games, hook him up with a Warwick shirt and hat, and he can lead your move the chains. Can he do that for us this year in the postseason?
Hey, if he comes down there on the sideline, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
You got an invitation to move the chains with Warwick in the postseason. And Region 5, he's going to be a lot of fun with Warwick and Kings Fork, defending champ Maury, Granby, Nansemond River, your old school Ed. It should be a lot of fun. So he got the invitation right there to move the chains with Coach Hairston and the Raiders. Yeah, just like that crowd, Section 212 Old Dominion, to move the chain crowd. And plus, it'd be kind of neat to see what I look like in a Warwick football jersey or shirt. Now, Coach, I'm going to have to take one out of your closet now because, my XL days are over. I'm more 3X, 4X, so I need to be comfortable.
Well, Coach, look, I've lost a few pounds, so I might be able to take care of you.
Give me one of your old ones. There we go.
Yes, sir.
Well, Coach, hey, thank you so much for coming on the show. All the best. We're looking forward to it next Saturday against the Phoebus Phantoms and what should be a great football game, celebrating two worthy championship caliber teams. And all the best to you and your squad on this postseason journey, and we'll talk down the road.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. You all take care.
You too. That's Corey Hairston doing an excellent job as the head man of the Warwick Raiders, our guest here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk.